My name is Keeril Makan, and I'm the head of music and theater arts, and I myself am a professor of music and music composition. And so right now, this semester, you're right that most of my work is as head, but maybe I'll talk about my class first, and then I can talk about what I'm seeing my colleagues, how they're approaching the move online. So the class that I'm teaching is relatively unusual for us in that it is a seminar for advanced composers, student composers. And the way it's structured when it's not virtual, when it's real, is that we will meet maybe every other week as a group to share what the students are composing, and then I'll show them some relevant material and then coach them on what they're doing. And then the other weeks we'll meet individually, sort of private lessons on what they do. It varies a little bit depending upon the size of the class. This semester I have 7 students. So yeah, each one half an hour meeting. It's a bit, but it seems to be the best way to get things across and to work on their music. So, and actually moving this online is not too difficult, that part of it. So I can certainly have these Zoom meetings individually. I have a piano, so I'll do it in my child's room where the piano is, so I can actually play. But I don't think the audio quality matters that much. It's really just illustrative of what they're writing. And they all will send me PDFs of what they're composing ahead of it. So I'll have time to look it through before giving them comments. And then the actual collective meeting, that to me seems less for these next few weeks. We will do it mostly to help build the community and have them connect with each other, but they haven't spent that much time together anyway previously this semester, so it's not quite as tight-knit a group as other classes that I teach. I also have students that range from, California to India, so the time zone differences are going to be challenging for that meeting. So they were supposed to write a piece. So we had just finished their first project before this disruption. So it was sort of a good timing. So our second project was supposed to be writing a piece for our orchestra on campus, and that is now impossible. The orchestra cannot rehearse together. There's no technology that'll make that happen. So I've had to change the second project, and they'll write a piece for a husband and wife duo. I wanted them to have the experience of writing for more than one instrument, but of course, no one can be in the same room together. So this was a fortunate collaboration where there's a clarinetist and a percussionist that are married and perform together as a duo and live together. So, and they've agreed they're, obviously looking for work since no one can perform. So they're going to be working with my students. So we'll meet with them online for the first class. So they will share other music that has been written for them. They'll talk about their instruments and peculiarities of writing for their instruments. And then we'll meet up again at the end of the semester when they'll perform through them. And I don't know, in that case, the audio quality of Zoom is not that great. So I may have to work with, we have a multimedia specialist in MTA. I'm not sure if Mike or Alina mentioned him, Kuko Dalio. So he's been a resource of helping us with some of the hardware issues specific to music and theater. So we may have to some microphones or something so we can get a little better quality final experience for the students.
Mike happened to mention that Zoom is tuned to human voice,
Yeah.
and therefore it's not good for music. And somehow I got the impression that we figured out, or Elena figured out a way around it.
Yeah, Zoom does have the option in its preferences to, I forget what it says, but not to optimize for voice. And then it just passes through the signal. I think one of the reasons Zoom has become so popular is their noise suppression algorithms for voice are really good. And I think people can hear each other on Zoom much better than Skype or Google Hangout that kind of thing. So this quality of it, which is an advantage most of the time for music, is a disadvantage.
Yeah, one of
But-
those things you find out
yeah, right.
by doing. Yeah.
But I think the teaching of individual lessons, like a violin lesson or a piano lesson, that has been around for a few years, usually through Skype. So you'll have teachers, usually in New York, and students in other countries who want to study with them. And so there is a tradition that has evolved over the past, I would say, 5 years or so. So it's not that unusual to see. And people understand that the quality of the audio is not great, but it's more about the communication and the connection between teacher and student.
Uh,
So the other parts of MTA, happy to a little bit about that. Uh, I'll talk first about mute. Oh, can you hear me? It says okay. So music and then about theater. So on the music side, some of our classes are essentially history classes or classes that, because they're theory, there are P sets or something like a P set. So there are analogs to other classes at MIT. And so I think they can model what they do on other classes, either in SHAS or even in the School of Engineering. So those have ported relatively well. The challenge is that the faculty and instructors are not comfortable with the medium, and particularly are some of our best teachers who have been here for some time are perhaps the least comfortable with the move online. So there's a learning curve, and we'll see how people do this week, how comfortable they are. But then we have these classes that really are performance-based. And those are the ones that are relatively unique, I think, to music and theater arts. I mean, there's some parallel, I guess, to a lab class where there is something hands-on and where it involves multiple people working together in the same room. So I have no idea how the labs are handling this challenge. For us, it's not possible to simulate the experience of performing as an ensemble. It's just not possible. The technology doesn't exist. Even the laws of physics make it hard to do, particularly just given the nature of the internet and transmission of sound and everything else. So I think what our instructors are doing is it varies depending on who it is and their comfort level with this challenge. I think the most interesting case that I know of is with the orchestra. The conductor this year, Evan Zaporin, is also a composer and quite used to improvisation and has taught improvisation. And so he has set up different projects for the orchestra that are sort of like group improvisations. I don't know if they're happening in real time or rather people are recording themselves and then multi-tracking it later. And I think that approach of recording and multi-tracking, other people are trying as well. I think some of our chamber music groups, and yeah, it sort of maps onto the age of the instructor. The younger the instructor, comfortable they are with the technology, the more comfortable they are with possibly multi-tracking and taking recordings from the students and working with them. And we do have, and Kuko is also an asset in this, and he is helping support that venture. In other cases, for performers of instructors of performance, they're taking it more as a chance to explore literature and repertoire and to do more analysis, kind of changing it into more of an academic class. So the kind of discussions that ensembles should be doing, but oftentimes don't have the chance to do, particularly at a place like MIT. The student is a string quartet, they will go off and rehearse on their own and come in for their coaching, but there's not enough time for them as individual performers to go off and study the score and discuss as an ensemble, which a quartet at a school of music would do. So this is an opportunity for them to experience a more in-depth approach to the study of the music form, but they don't actually get a chance to perform it, unfortunately. Hopefully next semester. And theater, oh, sorry.
Please. Well, let me just mention that when Megan gave her workshop uh, for you, one of the first things that she mentions is that you expect to fulfill 2/3 of what you accomplish in a face-to-face class. And it sounds like your faculty are taking that very seriously and making adjustments and, in a sense, lowering your expectations.
Yes, they definitely are. Well, they're rising above my expectations, I would say. I think that initially when we were confronted with this, I think I had assumed that we would just cancel the ensembles because there was, I think, that option coming from the office of the faculty to do that. But I think everyone collectively felt that this would be a disservice to the students, even if they were not getting the musical experience that they had signed up for. This was an important part of their life, their emotional and their mental health, to continue these students together in some way with the instructor. So, so yeah, so nothing's being canceled.
Wonderful. In theater.
On the theater side, I actually talked to them first, and actually this was when we still were able to be in the same room. And the most challenging aspect for them, well, there is one thing we did cancel, which is they do a production every semester, and that there's no way to do. However, the students who are involved in the production, the way they get credit is toward practica credit, which is part of the major and minor and concentration. And so those have been turned into individual studies. So there are people, for instance, who might be actors in the play. I'm not sure what those independent projects have become, but that is the approach that the theater faculty took. There are people who are involved on the design side, some on the production side. So all of them now have individual projects that relate to the study of design or production. So somewhat analogous to what happened with our performance groups, where it's more of an academic analysis of the activity rather than doing it. And then the other big challenge, and I don't know how they've resolved this, I've not looped back to talk to them, was the intro to acting class. So intro to acting is our highest enrollment class, but it's all taught in small sections of, I think, up to 18 to 20 students. But then there are like, how many are there? 8, all right? 8 times 20, yeah, that's about right. 7 or 8 sections taught by different people, all with different approaches to how to teach intro to acting. There's not a uniform curriculum necessarily. And what I understand is that basically one person has kind of stepped up who is comfortable with the technology and with the idea of online instruction and found ways. And so they're very much sharing materials to help each other and coming up with, one solution that can be transferred to other people rather than everyone inventing their own solution, which I'm happy to hear. I had proposed this to them when we first met that, if somebody comes up with a solution for one class, everyone should adopt it. And they were resistant at first because that was, different from the model they have been working on, when each person could tailor the class to their interests and their skills. But with the challenge of moving online, I think there's been more sharing of resources. I think that's all, yeah. But I don't know also how they've resolved the issue. So with music, I think we can basically either visually we can be static, right? So if someone's playing a violin, they may be far away. We had to provide microphones for all the students so they could have the computer further away and they could play, but they're not moving in space. The actors, however, are, and I don't know what they've done. Whether they bought better webcams for the students or found a solution.
This is wonderful, Keeril. Let me ask you some questions that I've been asking everyone. The first question is, we got the message from President Wright on March 10th that we are going to shut down the classes and then come back up starting today, March 30th online. How did you feel when you saw that message?
Oh, I guess honestly, most of my thinking was, I have 3 kids, and so it all was blended together with my thinking about what is my life going to be like with 3 kids at home and trying to be head of this section. And honestly, the moving of the class online was the least of my concerns. Um, so it was more the totality of this disruption that was shocking and worrisome. The moving the class online. Honestly, I'm more concerned about what they're going to do for my children who are in elementary school and high school, because they're used to being in school every day, right, throughout the day. And I can see the teachers in Cambridge are really struggling to figure out what to do. And they don't have the resources, I think, as far as I can tell, uh, to provide a full day experience for the students. So anyway, so that's not what you asked for, but I feel like the colleges, universities are a better place because things can be taught asynchronously. You have, a maturity level on the students that you can expect that they will attend to what is asked of them. Um, yes, we will lose out on some of the discussion and some of the vibrancy of the classroom, but I do think that in terms of the education of the students, yes, with the kids in mind, it'll be okay for now. To go for a whole semester, next semester, a whole other story. But for right now, I think we're okay.